Kildare in as well for today's Q&A because there's quite a bunch of balance changes recently, and I guess on Discord, a couple of players wanted to ask about the details regarding the balance changes, and I think Kildare is the best person to answer that, but he's not available for during this Q&A, but we can make a list and we'll go over it in our upcoming meeting.
No worries. I wasn't planning on discussing like the explicit details about the balance changes. Some of the concerns that's been raised here in the Discord community was on the pace of which these balance changes were being made. I know you touched upon it a bit internally just recently, but I think it's very helpful for the player base to get your thoughts and concerns about it.
Yeah,
I think they would appreciate that. So I'll leave that answer to you.
Yeah, I think on that point, I think it's always good to have new game mechanics introduced and have changes to both make sure the game's fair and also to keep it interesting and exciting. But I think we've probably done a bit too much of that recently, like all in one batch, and most of the balance changes made were to existing gameplay features rather than introducing new ones. And I think for the next quarter we'll focus a bit more on getting new content through and leaving the balance the recent set of balance changes just in the game so that we can start getting some data and feedback on them before we make any additional set of changes. I think that will just be a better use of the time to make sure we get more interesting content there. Yeah, and I think the other thing is we've obviously got another feature update coming in the next month, and also we've got our third Kickstarter starting. So there's quite a lot of things to cover anyway in the next 30 days.
Okay, thank you for answering that. But I want to do another follow-up on that. I understand that from what I've heard from Vincent is that there's a lot of the changes there that he's trying to push for that the player base has requested for years. So would there be probably a chance to reconsider, not maybe, of course, not push all of it, but at least some of it? I know some of the rush changes he's very adamantly emphasized that it's needed for future balancing when 1.1 or the game reaches its full release, and it will make balancing even easier. So I understand not wanting to do too many balance changes back to back, but I feel like some of them are actually very valid and they should be not delayed any further.
Okay, that's good feedback. Yeah, maybe a little different from the angle I was coming from. I think that makes sense. There's so let me open our list of kind of balance changes. So we've got a lot of them that's already being pushed out with this patch 5 for build 997. I think we've got a little bit of a delay just on iOS, so that has a lot of bug fixes, I guess. I think the main changes we've already done in development but haven't pushed out is regarding like rush command and boarding crews, and a couple of the status, the status damages. I think the best person to answer, questions about those balance changes would actually be Kildare. So I don't want to answer the wrong thing because he's been working quite hard on making sure those changes reflect what the players want. We might be. I know he's a bit camera shy, but we may need to get him on another AMA chat, maybe in the next week or two. So break from our typical monthly AMA and do do another AMA at some stage just on those balance changes, and I guess we can then hear from the horse's mouth with regards to the balance changes. Yeah.
Okay. No worries. I wasn't really looking for details, like you said. Vincent's not here, so that's completely understandable. I think Toma mentioned some things about focusing on performance and desync related issues. For example, missile rooms switching from what was it? From one stat to another. To kind of help like balance certain things out in with regards to certain stats. But I think that is great. I just want to make sure that you are aware that the community is concerned about the pace which certain balance changes are occurring. There are certain people who are against and certain people who are for it. So I understand you have to kind of like appeal to both sides to kind of meet a compromise, and that's what I was kind of going for when bringing up this concern.
Yeah, no, that's a really good summary, and that really glad you can see the full picture there as well. I've been getting a number of people like DMing me about maybe a bit more one-sided about there's too much changes to keep up with from like being a competitive tournament player. But yeah, I think that's really good feedback.
Yeah, they're all valid concerns. It's just that I just wanted to make sure that. But moving on to another topic, let's go with addressing cheating in debate. So in the past AMA or Q&A, whatever you want to call it, we've talked about cheating, and you've gone over how Savvy has been handling the cheaters in the game.
Yep.
Just recently, a few weeks ago, both in our feedback channel, and I've also gotten further DMs from other people, is another way to address cheating within the more prominent fleets in debate, usually the top two competitive fleets. So you have the monthly rewards for them, which are completely fine and should be left alone. But they brought up the possibility or idea to deny them the annual prize for the year. Annual prize not being like the beacon skin. It's like, for example, 2022, Hydra got the hanger skin and the craft skin as well.
Yeah.
So the idea for this is because, not saying cheating doesn't happen in other fleets, but these top two fleets have been propelled by the cheating, so it doesn't sit well with players that they're being rewarded, even though they won the tournament, but the means of which they won aren't quite fair, or it kind of questions the integrity of the game in a sense. So what is your opinion on this, or your thoughts on this moving forward? Maybe denying the annual prize for the year until you get the cheating issues stabilized, or in a comfortable place that that team feels like it's in a good, fair place regarding turning.
Yeah, this is a tough one. I think the main difficulty is when we're looking at fleets cheating, it's always going to be a percentage of players that's been found guilty of cheating, and it's quite difficult to punish kind of the whole group of players when a fraction of those are involved in cheating. And also, I mean, we've been very vigilant in banning the cheating players, especially in the last 3-4 months. There's been huge numbers of database investigations, and I think that was already covered in the last few AMAs. So it's difficult to make this calls because a couple of players could be causing detriment to other players that's had nothing to do with cheating or any type of exploits. And also because the tournament prize is kind of done in hindsight and it's for a 12-month period, it's also very difficult to say, we're not going to feature a custom prize, which is, I think, very very much thought after. I mean, we've been working on making these custom prizes as well. So I think this is something we have to discuss internally and also with the CMs to make a decision. It's gonna be a balance of the various facts in place. For me personally, I think it's almost a tradition. We've got these custom annual prizes, which are a big goal to achieve, and I think we're one of the only games that does it, and that makes it unique and also collectible if you do manage to get those. I would very much want to still give that 100 units allocated of the custom gifts, but to not give it to a whole fleet because of some players in that, it's a hard one. I think we'll need to discuss it further in our internal meetings.
I just want to clarify, but I feel like you got the point at the end, but it's not the monthly prizes, like you said at the end. It's the annual prizes,
the annual prize, yes.
And not the beacon skin. It's it's the annual prize. It's usually the fleet's choice, or the fleet leadership's choice to pick.
Sorry if I mentioned monthly there. I meant the annual, of course. Yeah.
Okay. But it's just a thought. We can definitely discuss this later internally.
Yeah. I also want to go back to one of the issues you mentioned earlier, which I didn't get to cover, with the performance optimizations as well. So we are looking at putting out a number of new star-based content and also ship content before the end of the year. And I think another major feature coming, which we've hinted at last AMA, is the user-generated content portal. So those two things combined will put a little bit extra performance requirements on the client. And I know the performance on Pixel Starships isn't the fastest on a lot of mid-end Android devices. So in the last month or so, we've spent some time on making sure the game runs faster on especially mid-end Android devices, so that once these new features are out, it's not going to have any detrimental performance to existing accounts. So I know you mentioned something about performance earlier, so just wanted to add that one in.
Yeah, I think we covered that in the last Q&A. I think Vincent has been working on it internally, if I remember correctly. And I think I hinted towards that in the last Q&A. But yes, that's really good to know.
We
moving on, I want to make sure.
About 2-3 weeks ago, we also got external performance optimization consultants in as well. So there should be a couple of noticeable bumps in the speed of the Android build. So that should be welcome feature.
Okay, awesome, thank you. Moving on, the next question we want to go over is the desync battle bug issue. It's been a rampant and very controversial issue when it comes to our bug threads. So really what I would like to know, and other players would like to know, is the status on it. How the devs are addressing it, or have they made any headway to improving it, and things like that.
Yes, yeah, I want to apologize for the sync issues. Yeah, I think that's been raised in the last two MAs already. And we said this was very very high prior, one of our top priors to get this fixed. The high-end QDRs working on this, and it's unfortunately taken longer because it's a complicated problem. But also recently we've done a launch in Greater China area, and that's raised a couple of issues, separate issues with our server infrastructure. So we had to spend some time to address those. The Android version in China just went live actually yesterday. So hopefully that's going to be out of the way in the next week or so, and we can get back into fixing the sync issues.
All right, that is awesome. Good to hear. Next questions, they came from our first community town hall, where I got clear feedback from majority of the community that aren't as vocal in our suggestions or feedback channel. One of the questions, or I should say kind of like a suggestion, was regarding to regular PvP. There were a lot of the lower tier, mid to lower tier players have been complaining about not seeing ships within their ship level range. Either seeing ships that are like really low, like seeing a level 12, seeing ships that are like level 6, or a ship level 6 player being attacked by a level 12 player. So they kind of vented their frustrations or concerns about this, and what we would really want to know is there any other or future things in the works to help improve PvP and to make it a bit more fair when it comes to PvP battles, fighting within your actual power range or ship level range. I understand it has to kind of be like a plus and minus the ship level, but sometimes like a level 6, a level 12 versus a level 6, I think that's a little too big of a gap.
Yeah, that's definitely a bug. It should not be. It's possible on an edge case, but if that did occur, it would only happen maybe once, and you definitely wouldn't see another match like that within a close time. But the fact that happened is could be a new bug that's crept through. Should be an easy one to fix. We in about 6 months ago, we made a very big matchmaking update, and I think that fixed most of the issues and got the matchmaking to run faster. This sounds like something that's happened recently. I mean, I think Thomas in as well, and he can correct me if I missed this during one of our internal meetings, but I don't think we've recently readdressed this issue.
Yeah, the fix that you made about like 6 months to a year ago, that was really good. I feel like regular PvP matchmaking before that fix was terrible.
Yeah,
but I mean,
and slow as well.
The fix you made about 6 months ago has been really good. It's not perfect, obviously, but it was a big improvement. There's, of course, you said there's these. I'm hesitant to call them edge cases because sometimes I experience it too in my lower level ships.
Yeah.
But there's some of these cases where you get attacked by these higher level ships, and you're kind of scratching your head like, why am I level 6 being attacked by this level 12 ship?
Yeah.
But it definitely has been improved from past PvP. But it's good that you are going to look into it further and probably make some updates or quality of life improvements regarding it.
Okay, yeah, great. And now that you've pushed that issue up, I've got on my notes to check with Hai, and I'm sure Thomas will do that as well on Monday. Yeah.
Okay.
That
Awesome.
should be, the good news is that should be a very quick one to address. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. That's good. Since Thomas is here, I wanted to see if he wants to join, and because the next few questions are regarding crew stat rebalancing, and I think, like you mentioned, and as I know, I think Thomas is the one that is in charge of that.
Yes, perfect. Yeah, it's a very early in Melbourne time. So Thomas, if you can jump in, please do.
Okay, hold on. Before you start talking, Thomas, let me actually raise the question. So it's a two-parter, so I'm going to start with the first part. So what are the possible crew stat rebalancing? Because I know a few months ago you did rebalancing for some of the legendary crew, but I think there's been some push by the player community to rebalance even further for certain crew. For example, like the conjoint Archon in terms of stats. But I think the route that you're going for that crew is augmenting or changing some of its abilities and the perk. But in regards to also rebalancing crew, also adding additional perks to crew that don't have any, like Galactic, Sprite, Succubus, and so on and so forth. So my question really is, what are the changes in regards to crew stats and perks?
Yeah, certainly. Firstly, good morning, good evening to everyone. It's really nice to be here. Thank you for putting these together, Apex. We really appreciate it. So there's actually a fair bit that's going into a lot of the stat changes for crew. Now, we don't really want to go through and start nerfing crew or start making changes to crew that people have spent a lot of time investing in. The best option that we've been looking at, and it's taking quite some time, and we apologize for that, we just want to make sure we get it right, is looking at basically increasing the amount of perk options that are available. Not just making a whole bunch of copied stats like we see at the moment, but giving more stat or strategic options so it's a more robust system. That more makes things kind of interesting, where players can make their own strategic choices based on whether they like the crew or whether they're a boarder or whether they're a gunship or basically anything that they'd like to choose. So with your example with the conjoint Archon, there is a couple of issues obviously with its power level at the moment. That's more tied to its perk and how that acts, so we will see some changes there. We're hesitant to do balance changes, as you've noted earlier, because a few too many of them have been coming out, I'll be honest with you. It is something that we are going to address though. I think what players can take away from this though is that if you see a crew at the moment that feels like it is a must choose, that's going to become much less of an issue. We're also going to see a lot of counter options and strategic options presented to players just from the new perk options. So it's not things like, oh, here's a static, increase to a stat. It's not things like, oh, we're just going to copy over vampirism and make it stronger for certain collections. Not at all. These are going to be completely new interactions, and a lot of them kind of counteract with against each other to provide that strategic option.
Okay, awesome. That is good to hear. Following up on that, or kind of diverting from it, I should say. Are there going to be any new additional hero and legendary crew added to the game? Because right now it feels kind of the choices are very limiting.
Yeah,
when it comes to crew selection, or when you're trying to prestige crew, is very limiting, and it's very, like, when you look at the ships, everybody has the same basic set of standard crew. So are there going to be any additional crew added, especially for pilot, because we don't have any legendary crew with high pilot stats?
You took the words right out of my mouth. Yes, we are. We're going to see a number of heroic crew come before the October Prestige reset, of course, but one of our focuses is, of course, providing pilot options, because there's pretty much none at the moment, but let's be honest, pilot was never really a desired stat in the past until we started making these changes to make the game a little bit more balanced for each strategy choice. There will be a couple of legendary crew added, but players can definitely rely on upcoming crew in the heroic category and even epic category coming up towards October. One of the crew coming up especially towards the Moon Festival, which actually starts on the 1st of September. There'll be another addition to the Mariner crew, which is heavily inspired by, of course, Sailor Moon. They will also be seeing, if I can provide a little bit of a tease, their own unique collection bonus when we do that update as well.
That is awesome. That's great to hear. Thank you again for answering these questions. The next question will be my last question, and it's a relatively controversial one. So I think we went over this. Actually, it's a two-parter. Actually, so we went over, kind of touched on turning restructuring, but this topic, or this first question or concern, is more on fleets dropping into lower divs because either because of better rewards or mostly because just the competition wise. Are there any plans in the future to I would say prevent this, I guess, or discourage acts like this in the forms of restructuring tourney, maybe the rewards of tourney rewards for each divs, or expanding the size of div A. I think there's a lot of possible solutions to this, but really the question is this something that you're considering in the near future? Sorry, did you hear me?
I could hear you okay. Thomas, could you hear Apex?
Oh, yes, sorry, I thought that was directed to Zin.
It's directed to both of you. So.
Well, okay. So I think I think last time we had a chat about a similar issue, and I think you hinted at this idea as well. This was towards the end of the last AMA. I believe we were firstly discussing the fleet sizes, but then we also discussed how can we rebalance the tournament division rewards. I don't think we actually got any like concrete ideas put down on paper. If we do that, like in like a proposal, and then the next time we have a internal meeting, it might be better if you can join as well, Apex, and we'll see if we can work that into it. I think that's my opinion. I got a feeling of what kind of things can be done easily with the tournament setup, but I think it's good if we get some specific options there, and so we can make a call. I'll pass it to Thomas.
Okay, yeah.
If I could just add to that, we've been holding discussions on it. There's a variety of different proposals. We haven't actually landed on one at this stage, I'll be quite frank with you, simply because each proposal has pretty heavy effects and after effects that we need to consider as well. Fleet sizes, I don't believe, is something that is quite popular at the moment, but it's still under consideration, of course. We like to take this feedback on board, and we never really like to rule anything out if it is being asked by the players. I also think it kind of shines to the fact that rewards are not doing or not performing the way they should if we have players feeling like this. While the option there should be there for players to drop down if they don't want to compete at such a high level, it shouldn't be based on any kind of perceived issue with the rewards or whether it's worth it or not. However, we can't really discuss that just yet. I'd like to keep that just as a little bit of a surprise for what we discuss, but I would definitely love to get more feedback and see if we can get more involvement, especially from Apex in the internal meetings as well. So I'll line that up.
Awesome. Thank you for the response. Speaking of the rewards, I want to kind of segue into the next question that I have regarding turning restructuring. There we go. So a lot of the players have been complaining that the CDD have really low tournament rewards that they get at the end. A lot of them have been saying, "Hey, why don't you just reconstruct the whole reward system?" But what I've been thinking, and I think some players have brought it up, I don't think the rewards are the issue. It's really the Dove store that's the issue, in the prices for them. Because you get one Dove and you look at the Dove store and you see all the good items, they're all like double digits value, and you got one Dove, you're gonna have to play for a whole year to even get into the double digits when it comes to Dove rewards. So I was thinking, why don't you just make like a one Dove menu in the Dove store? And of course, it will be abused. So why don't you just set a limit like you do for the crates? So you can get like one Dove will get you a number of like consumables, XP books, or whatever. You can decide that, but it's something you can put a value to that one Dove that player got in Div D to say, hey, I got one Dove. I can actually get something decent that I can use on my crew. But you can set a limit on it so it doesn't get abused by those who got like 100 or 500 Doves. Like once you get 5 or 3 to 5 things, it closes and resets every month. Something like that. I mean, there's this option, but there are other options as well.
I think
reward reconstruction is another valid solution, but I'm just saying there's so many options out there. I just want to make sure that they're getting passed on to you.
Yeah, I think that's a really good idea, and it's very specific. I think I really like specific ideas, and I think this can work. Yeah, this is great. I think if we have like a specific proposal for the divisions as well, I think we will seriously consider that. It will take some time to implement, just because of the state of the sync at the moment. But this one's, in my opinion, is great and very workable. Tama, what do you reckon?
No, I completely agree. While we do have the division rank boxes, and that is something that, still provides a bit of a leg up for players, I think we can not only add to those. I really like the idea of kind of providing a monthly bonus similar to the boxes that are kind of limited to the amount of number that you can claim, but something that would help give them more of a leg up. It is something that we're also looking at by noticing that players in Div A, Div B, things like that are more interested in the Dove side of things, and of course their caches, but Div C, and onwards would probably be more interested in stuff to help them give that bit of a boost for their ship. So I'd really be on board with this one. We'll definitely pen this in.
Okay, awesome. That is really good to hear. So moving on to now Pixel Starships 2, I want to kind of leave this open for you for any updates, more so the Kickstarter. Some of the questions that have been asked is, are there going to be any packs in the, or starter packs, not starter packs, packs in the Kickstarter, like the previous Kickstarter for like ship crew, designer crew or designer ship layouts, but not for Pixel Starships 2, but for Pixel Starships 1. Some players have been asking about that availability in this upcoming Kickstarter.
Yeah, I think that was a great idea, and I think someone also asked or suggested that last time. At the moment, we haven't put a custom ship for PSS1 in the PSS2 Kickstarter. We can definitely look at adding it, but well, there's a couple of things. Firstly, there's a UGC portal that's going to be added to PSS1 soon. I mean, it doesn't do custom ship layouts yet, but the breadth of skinnable functions is quite broad. So I think we want to do quite a lot with the UGC portal and incremental improvements as well. So I think that may overlap with some of the custom crew or custom ship design backer packs. And I mean, if it's, I mean, the UGC system is essentially free for players, and we don't want to make like a paid option when there can be a free one available. I think that's one thing. And the other thing is, with PSS2, with the third Kickstarter, the goal is to raise some resources and some time and ideas to develop PSS2, and it's going to be a very long development and testing phase. It's not like we're finishing the Kickstarter project and boom, like we're launching PSS2. I think it's going to be a 12-month or like a long duration closed alpha testing for PSS2, so that we can make sure it's up to a very high standard and the expectations are high. So I think if we just keep the third Kickstarter focused on PSS2, we'll have more than enough interesting things on offer there. But yeah, if anyone really wants a custom PSS1 feature, that's I think that can always be organized just via email, and we'll try to do something if the resources are available to do that. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you for answering that. Moving on to, or continuing with Pixel Starships 2, as we know, the Kickstarter starts September 26th. When will the demo be available for players?
Pretty much. I think during the Kickstarter we can start doing some video demos and also playable demos via Steam. We can put a couple of keys out. It's a like a pre-alpha demo basically at this stage, so not feature complete. There's there's always stuff we want to do with Pixel Starships 2 that differentiates it from Pixel Starships 1, and I'm not sure if those ideas are going to work or not, but we don't want to Pixel Starships 1 or like Classic is still going to be running and updated, so the gameplay is going to be, I think, quite different between 1 and 2, and we want to get out a build that players can start testing with, but it's going to have very limited features, so that we can tweak things and add things over the next year or two before it goes fully live. But yeah, to answer the question, during Kickstarter, we'll be giving out keys at the end of the Kickstarter. For any backers, they'll receive keys to access this pretty much as soon as the Kickstarter's finished, until we launch the game as a full release. That could take a year or two. I don't want to set an exact timeline, but anyone who wants to participate in kind of the alpha beta test would need to be a Kickstarter backer or a very high level player. I think we'll give some keys out to fans who want to help out and improve the game.
All right. Awesome. Thank you for that answer. At this time, are there any other updates you want to share with the player base regarding Pixel Starships 1 or Pixel Starships 2 that I haven't covered yet?
Yeah, I think I guess on the Kickstarter and the Pixel Starships 2 side, we definitely trying to make a couple of noticeable game mechanic differences. So in the last couple of weeks, we've been looking at different ways we want to implement like the galaxy and the ground battles, so they're separate. There's separate strategies from Pixel Starships 1. Yeah, I mean, I can bounce off some of the major things that could make a difference. I think in Pixel Starships 1, the travel times is something we've been tweaking in the last month, and we've been trying longer travel times or shorter ones without rush. But I think not everyone is completely happy with the way that works as one of the systems. I was thinking with Pixel Starships 2, we may go with like a jump system. So you just get a certain number of jumps assigned to your ship based on the ship level and what equipment you've got. So you can do like a FTL jump instantly, but you've only got a certain number of jumps you can do, per time period. So I think that's one of the things we might try on the new engine. And I think another one that I think there's quite a lot I can talk about. I don't think I'll cover everything. But ground battles was got a little bit, I think, repetitive sometimes in PSS1. So we may try like a real-time based ground battle system with a bit more like a dungeon crawler feel, and just see how that works. We'll try and get that into the playable before the end of the year as well for testing purposes. I also want to note, for anyone who does join the Pixel Starships 2 testing, those data will get wiped before it goes live. So it will specifically be for testing purposes. It's not a production game. So I think
if I can quickly add to that as well, I've been looking at some of the designs the PSS2 team has been putting together for ground battles. It's much more engaging and exciting, and I know that in PSS1 it tends to be something we skip, so that's definitely something to be looking forward to.
Maybe I think depending on how the UGC portal goes, we'll see if we can open up some of that custom functionality to fans as well. That might be a bit difficult, but that'll be really fun if we can do that.
All right, that sounds good. That sounds good. All right, so if that's it, I'm going to open up the AMA to player questions now. So if you have any questions, especially questions that haven't been covered already, now's your time to ask them. Just post them in our big AMA or Q&A chat, and then we'll take and read them out.
Awesome.
So will Spice Trader ever sell crew?
Good question. I think Thomas can take that one.
That's not in our current plans. It is something that we could look at. It would be interesting if they were unique crew to Spice Traders. I definitely like that idea. At the moment, we definitely want to improve the process of drawing characters to make sure the players are happy with that and just provide more options. The thing is, as we focus more on the collection changes as well, it's something that I think needs a bit of a higher priority just so we can increase the interest in a wider variety of crews. But I'll definitely note that down. I like that idea.
All right, thank you for that answer. Next question, for Pixel Starships 2, would there even be super weapons? And if so, will the super weapons in Pixel Starships 2 be changeable?
They won't be changeable between factions at this stage. There's more faction-specific weapons. About super weapons, it's something we just haven't gotten to yet. Because the product is still in like a prototyping alpha phase. We've been focused on getting changes to the first 6 levels of the ships for testing purposes, and we'll do the next level 9 to 12 type of mechanic a little bit further down the track.
Awesome. Thank you for that reply. Next one. So this one's regarding old balls and rebalancing. So I know that I think it's Kabir or Vincent, his player, his game name and his it gets confusing. Kabir, as a majority of the player base know him as, is working on updating ship halls or layouts for ship level 13. So the question here is, are there any plans to like rebalance all the ship halls in a way that they're all playable competitively? Because if you look now in the top 100, about, I would say, what, 60, maybe even 70%, maybe even more of the ship halls that are used are the Draken Star Palace or the Star Palace hall. So are there any plans in the near future or in the future to help balance this out? And I know it's not a high priority issue, but in terms of having some type of variety in what halls are used or what halls are present or viable when it comes to competitive play is a big deal. And it just kind of feels like it's all the same when you look at it from outside of the competitive scene. So it's like, oh, they're all using the same hall, or there's all these other halls that can be used. So yeah, just to reiterate, are there any plans in the future to help like balance this out?
That's a fantastic point. I've just written that down. I'm gonna pass it over to Kildare when he's available. Yeah, that's definitely the goal. It's hard to do. But yeah, we're gonna try and make that a reality.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. I have another question I want to ask that I just thought about right now. I saw some of these players post things about Spice Trader, but another thing that has come up, and I think one of the major issues when it comes to balance changes happening not back to back, but like so frequently, is the ability for players to be able to actually change or mostly retrain their crew to accommodate or to keep up with the competitive scene when balance changes occur. So my question is, would there be any way for a player to make consumables of hero tier, or maybe from easier way for players to make consumables at hero tier? So it kind of, I would say, alleviates or make it easier for our players to switch or change the crew's stats or when they're training them. Because right now, each crew, when you're max level, that's 25 crew that you have to retrain if a balance change occurs. So it's very expensive to retrain crew or to recustomize crew. A lot of the established players like myself, it's relatively easy for us to do it because we tend to have a lot more crew than the average player. So I think that's like the main focus there. When I say easier to make, it doesn't mean I'm not talking about like really easy, like 15 minutes you got one. Like something that stands within a couple of days and it drops at hero tier consumable. That type of thing.
Yeah. Again, the amazing, fantastic idea. It would require a design change, like a fundamental design change, to really make it work. From what I'm imagining, I think
there have been some discussions about this, mostly regarding the DNA blender that needs improving. There will always be a state where it's better to be in a position where you've got items that you can turn into dust, memory erasers, and then obviously feed into consumables to get training going. We've been trying to increase the amount of training consumables that become available on the market and things like that, you may have noticed. But the short answer is yes, but it won't be for quite some time. We do have a pending task to look into the DNA blender process to improve it, but we're just not quite sure when yet at the moment.
Okay, awesome. Thank you for that. All right, are there any other questions?
Awesome. Well, thanks.
Any other players? we're just going to end it here then.
Yeah, I think again, thanks so much Apex for moderating and organizing the AMA. It's a lot of fun. Sharing some of the stuff we're working on and also getting the feedback.
Yeah, thank you for the feedback. It's really valuable. Even if it's negative, it's stuff we take on board and we consider seriously. So I really appreciate everyone's time.
Awesome. Thank you for taking your time out today to answer them and to go over them with the player base. It's very kind of vital and very good to know that the devs are interacting with the community.
Yay, and thanks for all the positive messages on chat. Yeah.
Awesome. So that concludes this month's AMA. I'll try to do another community town hall next month before that month's AMA, so I can gather more feedback in regards to game content. So I will post that in probably when turning is over. I'll make the event available, and so feel free to join. I'll listen to all your feedback, notice, and then all the feedback that's presented to me, I'll then present it to next month's Q&A or the next Q&A that happens, because sometimes they're busy, so they might not be able to do it next month. So just look for the announcement. I'll make sure to make an announcement whether it occurs or not.
It's exactly 1 month until the Kickstarter 3, so maybe we'll run the next AMA on the Kickstarter page or something. just an idea.
Yeah, that'll be great.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, guys.
And that concludes this Q&A. You guys have an awesome weekend. Make sure you're drinking plenty of water. And I will see you in space.